Hey everybody, and welcome to another rendition of my Facebook Live user experience audits. I'm wearing a hat today because it's cold and because I didn't want to do my hair, so deal with it. Anyways, today we're going to go over my friend Patrick Rauland's blog. Patrick is a WordPress developer who focuses on WooCommerce. He actually used to work for WooCommerce and for Automatic, which is the parent company of WordPress, which is pretty cool. I've worked with him on the past two WordCamp Denver events here, and he's going to be the lead organizer for next year, so hoping to work with him again. And we have all sorts of random projects that we collaborate on. One of the most recent was WooSesh, which if you're part of my email newsletter, you'll probably have seen some information about that there. And now that that's all over, things have calmed down a little bit, and so we're going to dig into Patrick's blog that kind of acts as his professional portfolio of, what he's capable of, who he is as a person, personality type stuff. And so let's just go ahead and dig in then. So here's Patrick's website. It's called speakinginbytes.com, which I love. I think that that's a really fun name, and a lot of times in the WordPress community you see like something WP.com or whatever, and there's nothing really wrong with that, but Patrick's name really stands out in sort of what's becoming, sort of like a tired naming heuristic. So looking through, it's very clean, it's very simple, it's very minimal. His homepage is his blog, which, I have some opinions about that I'm going to share with you shortly, but I just wanted to kind of give it the initial scroll through so you can get an idea of what to expect here. And as you can see, it's pretty much like all his latest blogs, and it's the whole text of the blogs, and then you get to the bottom. So let's go back. Let's start from the beginning. So, like I was alluding to, I don't love it when people make their homepage a list of their latest blog posts, mostly because it kind of takes away the ability to be positioning whatever your most important goal is on your homepage, and also sort of leading the conversation towards whatever it is that you want to talk about. Because if you're using your latest blog posts, you're kind of at the mercy of whatever it is you just talked about. So for example, Patrick is working on a card game that he's going to fully create from top to bottom, a physical product, which is different than what he tends to talk about in terms of programming, in terms of WooCommerce, in terms of WordPress and web dev in general. And so while this is really cool and it's something that I definitely want to see while we're talking about the blog, I don't know if this is the best place to lead off on the homepage. And so a couple of suggestions. First of all, if you'll take a look here at his menu navigation, you'll see that we have a couple things here. I think that this menu could be improved a little bit. First of all, obviously, my opinion is that the homepage should be slightly different. Patrick might have a different opinion, and that's fine. But I think that there should also be a link for the blog, even if it leads to the same page, just so people understand when they're clicking through the menu navigation, whatever it is that they're trying to find. So just to help the user. When we have tools, I think that usually when somebody clicks on this and what they expect to find here is more like resources is maybe what this menu item should be called. That tends to be what people expect to find when they see a list of the tools that you're into. I don't think tools is wrong, but I think resources is more what people expect. So then Patrick has a privacy page, which in the age of GDPR, we have to put these on pretty much every website. It used to be more of like websites with sensitive information, or if they're collecting sensitive information. But now it's really a best practice to think of GDPR as sort of the global standard for data privacy. And so here's his privacy policy, but my thought is that it probably doesn't need to be in this top menu, just because It's not like a core page. What you'll usually see on like an e-commerce website, for example, is it's somewhere in the footer because it's something that people should have easy access to, but it doesn't have to take up that valuable menu real estate. So right here, you'll notice that Patrick, he has a footer and it says powered by WordPress, and then I think Highwind is the developer or theme that he worked with. But what's actually interesting is if you click through to this page, it's a broken link. So let this be a lesson to everyone to periodically check your website for broken links. Usually this could be as easy as using like Google Search Console. This one's not actually generating like a total 404 page because or it's not generating a broken link because it probably has some sort of 404 page template that he's using here. So as you can see, like there's content that loads. It's not just like an error page. And so that's one reason why you might not find a broken link. But usually if you use some sort of crawler tool, I can link to some in the notes for this when I put it on YouTube. But if you use some sort of SEO spider tool, whether that's Google Search Console or something like SERPstat, SE ranking, Ahrefs, whatever, you should be able to find if there's any like blatantly, unlinked or wrongly linked or, broken pages on your website. And the reason why you want to pay attention to that is because Google takes into account how crawlable your website is. So, basically the quality of the linking structure within your website. And so if it's finding a lot of broken links, then that's obviously going to work against you in terms of that. Also, it's a bad user experience to have links that don't lead to anywhere useful. So suggestion for Patrick to, make sure to check that link. And if you still want to have it there, maybe it's updated now. And also to repeat your main menu navigation here, as well as maybe moving the privacy policy here permanently instead of in the top menu nav. I do like these little arrows that show up when you start scrolling that let you go to the top. I think that's a very underutilized, awesome user experience feature. So let's go back to the home page for a moment here. So again, really clean layout. I think it's perfect. I wouldn't change the design necessarily. One thing that I would suggest to Patrick is using his full name. So Patrick Rauland's programming blog. Hi, I'm Patrick Rauland. Because he is somebody, of note in the WordPress community, especially in terms of all his work with WooCommerce. And so making it a little bit more obvious who this blog belongs to, while also kind of cashing in on the social proof of your name. I mean, you might as well do it. And speaking of social proof, so he has an opt-in here. Want to make the most of your store. I share WooCommerce tips, tutorials, news, and links for store owners and developers on my newsletter. I think this could be a whole lot more compelling. I think it has the right sort of idea in terms of what people can expect. So it sets expectations well. You could talk about, Patrick, how often you send your newsletter. But the social proof thing I was going to mention is maybe adding at the end of this, from, or maybe at the beginning, from the perspective of somebody who has like helped develop this software and who's like worked on the team. That's very powerful stuff. Not everybody can claim that. And Patrick also continues to share WooCommerce knowledge on LinkedIn Learning's platform, which you might have previously heard of as Linda. And so leveraging some of these really cool things that Patrick has done, I think could help him to convert more people to join this newsletter, and maybe also adding online stores so that people realize right away that it's relevant to them. Just a couple more things. Honestly, there's not a lot to nitpick here. These current hits are a bit outdated. 2016, we even have like a 2013 here. So what Patrick might want to do is, if this is something that you're generating on your own, if you're just, like typing in these, blog post URLs and it's like, auto adding the rest of the information, or maybe you have some sort of like featured checkbox thing in your theme. Whatever it is, maybe you could make it more dynamic by making it be like a recent post thing. Either way, I don't love a sidebar on a homepage. So, if you were to redesign your homepage to focus on maybe like a hero image of you with, a heading that speaks to not just the fact that it's your blog, but, maybe a little bit more talking about who your target audience is and, why this is relevant to them. Because programming is such a far-reaching term. Maybe web development makes more sense. I don't know. But having, some sort of hero image, having some like feature items about, maybe you could talk about WooCommerce, maybe you could talk about like the educational content you've created, and maybe you also have your third feature image be this new product that you're working on to drive awareness to all these different things that you do. And then leveraging a little bit more social proof on the homepage so that people understand what it would be like to work with you, what it would be like to learn from you. Just having like logos of places where you've been published, because Patrick writes for a lot of other blogs too, a lot of high authority blogs. Just vague ideas for how to use the homepage a little bit more effectively. Ultimately, building a homepage is kind of a bitch, so might not want to put all that effort in right now, depending on how much time you have to devote to, any changes. But something to think about for sure is that, just having the latest post, it puts you at the mercy of whatever it is you last talked about. So let me see if there's anything else. Let's take a look at his About page too. So I think that the About page, it's just lacking some information for how colorful your experience really is, Patrick. I mean, you kind of get to the point, so I appreciate that. But a couple things you could do to improve it would be, again, leverage social proof, have some talk about clients, testimonials from people who've worked with you or who have learned from you that you could weave in here to act as like a call to action to get in touch or to take your classes. Another, maybe some more photos would be good. You have this one and you have this one, but maybe another one of you in action at WordCamp or whatever. It could be, a bit more visual in general. You could flesh out some of the stuff. You could spend some time also making sure to speak about your customer, because at the end of the day, the About page is more about them than it is about you. So I think, the main thing to be learned from this whole thing is just, what are your most important goals with your website? Figure those out for yourself and then implement them on the homepage. And then connect the dots for everybody else who either hasn't heard of you before or who knows you but wants to get like the full sort of biography thing. So with that, I really don't have anything else to say, because I think Patrick does a really great job of being a known figure in the WordPress community. And I think it's just a matter of changing a few small things to get it absolutely perfect.